Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I trust you had a great weekend. We certainly did. We went to watch Salif Keita at the Bomas of Kenya. It was a joy to behold. Let me put up his photograph. Extraordinary musician. Really a fabulous evening, I must say. And then on the 28th of August, I took this photograph in the early evening of the luminous and luminescent moon that was spreading out against the sky. I've been reading, I never read it before actually, I'd read bits of it, Moby Dick by Herman Melville. And one quotation, well, let me give you three. It is not down on any map. True places never are. In the serene weather of the tropics, it is exceedingly pleasant. The masthead neigh to a dreamy, meditative man. It is delightful. There you stand 100 feet above the silent decks, striding along the deep, as if the masts were gigantic stilts, while beneath you and between your legs, as it were, swim the hugest monsters of the sea, even as ships once sailed between the boots of the famous Colossus at Old Rhodes. Ahab is forever Ahab, man. This whole act's immutably decreed. 'Twas rehearsed by thee and me 1,000,000,000 years before this ocean rolled. Fool, I am the fates' lieutenant. I act under orders. Laurent Bashir photo, the family album of wild Africa, 300 duotone photographs, look quite lovely. Political reflections. Xi's military parade fans unease in region already weary of China. As Xi Jinping presides over thousands of goose-stepping troops marching down Beijing's Chang'an Avenue, or Eternal Peace Street. On Thursday, the Chinese president will also proclaim his commitment to the world's peaceful development. It's a message China's neighbors may find hard to swallow as it flexes its military muscle from the East China Sea to the Indian Ocean. The parade marking the 70th anniversary of World War II's end or victory of the Chinese people's resistance against Japanese aggression and the world anti-fascist war, you will put on display much of what has frayed nerves throughout the region. First of its kind victory celebration will show the world the military might Xi has put at the center of his Chinese dream for national rejuvenation. The pageant will feature 12,000 soldiers, 200 of China's latest aircraft, and mobile ballistic missile launchers capable of delivering nuclear warheads to the continental US. There is a fairly crude signal to the international community that China is a modern power not to be trifled with. But this doesn't sit well with the anxiety that already exists in the region. Put up a photograph of Chinese military officers standing in line during a rehearsal ahead of this military parade. Everyone understands that the economy is the biggest pillar of the Chinese government's legitimacy to govern and win over popular sentiment. Let's counterpunch. If the economy falters, the political power of the Chinese Communist Party will be confronted with more real challenges. Social stability in China will be endangered tremendously, and Xi Jinping's administration will suffer even more criticism. And I said this on the 6th of July when I said the stock market crash represents probably the biggest political risk to the neo-totalitarian Xi Jinping. Put up a photograph of him that Quartz published. Sudanese President Omar Hassan al-Bashir is expected to travel to China on Monday for a 4-day visit, the foreign ministry said. I wonder if he's changed his plane, because this was his plane 2,048 days ago parked in Cuba. I play to people's fantasies, Donald Trump writes in the art of the deal in 1987. I like this quote: "The emperor smiled in a bid to seduce the international community while crushing his rebellious subjects." On the 27th of August 1975, a French reporter phoned the Ethiopian imperial palace, which had been overrun by Marxist army officers the previous year. Haile Selassie came to the phone. On a poor line, speaking good French, the King of Kings sounded calm and composed, not suspecting he had only a few more hours to live. "I'm as well as before," said the 83-year-old man, some revered as a god. "The soldiers are gone. I am well. So are my people." 40 years later, his death remained shrouded in mystery and the subject of debate. Official sources spoke the following day of his respiratory failure, but many believe the Lion of the tribe of Judah was assassinated by revolutionaries determined to overthrow a centuries-old monarchy. Bin-Laden is alive and well in the Bahamas, says Edward Snowden. According to him, not only is Bin-Laden still alive, but he's living a lavish lifestyle in the Bahamas, thanks to regular payments from the CIA. "I have documents showing that Bin-Laden is still on the CIA's payroll," claims Edward Snowden, receiving more than $100,000 a month. "I'm not certain where he is now, but in 2013 he was living quietly in his villa with 5 of his wives and many children." Saying Osama bin Laden was one of the CIA's most efficient operatives for a long time. What kind of message would it send to their other operatives if they were to let the SEALs kill him? They organized his fake death with the collaboration of the Pakistani secret services and simply abandoned his cover. Since everyone believes he's dead, nobody's looking for him, so it was pretty easy to disappear. Without the beard and the military jacket, nobody recognizes him. Wall Street Journal tweeted, "Chinese authorities have punished nearly 200 people for spreading online rumors." International markets, Taleb said, "The Fed is like a huge army with very sophisticated equipment and no ammunition. They inherited that big machine without weapons. They realized that interest rates at zero is not something normal, and there's no evidence that zero interest rates is better than 3%. But how to get back to that normal level is going to be a very, very tough task for them." And then Holger tweeted, he retweeted what Talib had said, and saying, and gave a diagram of the interest rates in the US, and you can see stuck at zero for a very long time. Currency markets, the euro is at 112.09, dollar index around the 95.80 level, Japanese yen 121.28, Swissy 0.9601 when I looked last, the Australian dollar 0.7126, India rupee 66.315, South Korean won 1182.89, Rial 358.20, Egyptian pound 778.97, the rand 13.31. Admittedly, that was earlier in the morning. Let me put up a 6-month chart of the dollar index. I think that we continue to wait on the Fed, and I still think that it's a buy in the medium term. Euro dollar, interesting price actions of late. It's obviously still got a big short position in it, given the way it traded last week. It's back down at 112, and there's a lot of talk of the ECB adding more stimuli. Eric Hunt said a majority of odd lots on Monday open were for 1 or 2 shares. Really stands out, must investigate. Then he says, not saying Monday drop was engineered, but there's evidence for it. Those odd lots, ETF crashes on the minute and the timing. And then he's concluded with another tweet this morning, likely reason for flash Monday ETF fail unprecedented limit down, halt in 4 major stock index futures. Commodity markets, Bloomberg is leading with a story. Gold isn't the safe haven investors thought it would be. Instead of a rally, futures in New York fell for 4 straight sessions, even as global equities plunged to a 2-year low. Rather than providing a refuge from a meltdown, gold's volatility rose right along with a measure of equity turbulence, diminishing its appeal as a safe haven. Let me put up a 6-month chart. I said it would get rejected at 1150. got rejected pretty close to there. Crude oil, massive 2-day short covering rally that started Thursday, ran through Friday. Have a look at this chart. It's a 6-month chart. You can see the bounce. I'm not convinced it's real. Emerging markets, why China's long-expected growth deceleration has caused a global freakout. Interesting chart from McKinsey of GDP growth. I think GDP growth in China is at 4.5%. My piece over the weekend, China's volatility causing influenza across Africa. I've been reading Herman Melville's Moby Dick, which is a story about the monomaniacal quest of Ahab, captain of the whaler Pequod, for revenge on Moby Dick, a white whale, which on a previous voyage destroyed Ahab's ship and severed his leg at the knee. This quote, "It is not down on any map, true places never are," caught my attention because the markets from the Shanghai Composite to the Nairobi All-Share to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, from the euro to the yen, have all done extraordinary things in the last few weeks. The Shanghai Composite Index does not need an introduction, and the global markets watch Shanghai every morning. The Dow Jones experienced its biggest single intraday fall exactly a week ago. The Nairobi All-Share crashed 9.55% Monday through Thursday, before snapping a 12-session losing streak on Friday. The yen moved more than 5 big figures in a single day last week. Volatility gauges topped the highs seen when Lehman crashed and burned in 2008. African currencies have jumped off a cliff without a parachute. The rand traded through 14 versus the dollar last week. These are plain extraordinary moves. These types of price movements are oftentimes characterized as tail risk. Nassim Taleb tweeted August 24th, "For people in markets now discovering the notion of tail risk via turning stomach." And I explained what tail risks are. It refers to the end portions of distribution curves. The bell-shaped diagrams show the statistical probabilities for a variety of outcomes. Mostly markets operate in the middle of the bell curve. The tails are the very ends of the continuum. I'm saying this heightened and hyper-international volatility has infected African equity and currency markets. In particular, 30% of our exports from Africa go to China. Compare that to the US, where just 1% of their exports go to China. And it is this interconnectedness which is spreading an influenza across sub-Saharan African markets. Commodity markets have crashed, notwithstanding a more than 10% rally in oil at the end of the week. And what is clear now is that the SSA is going to undershoot even the most pessimistic GDP forecasts. The unwinding of the supercycle in commodities changes everything in Africa. It's been a major disappointment here in Kenya that we have so far failed utterly to transmit the sharply reduced oil price. Oil down 50%, shilling down 13%, net 37% has nowhere to be seen. We should have been a big winner. Unless we manage to push sharply lower fuel prices, our economy will slow down for the 6th quarter in a row. I said that the Nairobi Securities Exchange bounced Friday after a brutal sell-off. Share prices in some instances are trading at multiples not seen for 4 or even 5 years. Fortune favours the bravest and those who keep their heads when everyone is losing theirs. Sure, there's been an unprecedented spike in full-year profits warnings at the bourse, and therefore you need to pick your spots. Look for the big caps because they've got beaten out big in the downdraft. FT, very interesting article, China turbulence casts shadow on Africa. This is Andrew England. Very interesting points. The collapse in oil and metals I've already spoken about. Chip funding from China. I've been a bit cheeky and taken that article in full, which they always warned me not to do as I do it, so I feel quite awful about it. But it's a good article, and there we go. If you want to look at it, rich wrap-ups. Sub-Saharan Africa. Africa must think big. We can't afford to have low aspirations for Africa. This is Adesina, who's going to be the new head of the African Development Bank. Zimbabwe relaxes empowerment law to boost investment, signalling a shift in policy. Christopher Mushowe, Minister for Health, Indigenization and Economic Empowerment, said the law would only be mandatory in the mining sector, which generates half of Zimbabwe's export earnings, contributes about 17% of GDP. Foreign investors in other sectors would be able to negotiate with the government what proportion of their businesses they could sell to locals, he said. I think Zimbabwe is finally moving the dial in this matter. Intra-African trade increased by 50% to 61 billion between 2010 and 2013, according to recent data released by the African Development Bank. That's a good thing. South African oil share rebounded 1.71% Friday, went back into positive territory for 2015, up 0.39%. Dollar rand, let me put up a 1 month chart. We hit my 14 target. I'm still seeing it as being weak. But, let's see how it develops. This historic discovery will be able to transform the energy scenario of Egypt, said Claudio Descalzi, the CEO of Eni. Eni says it has found one of the world's largest natural gas fields off Egypt's coast. Egyptian stock market fell 0.33% yesterday, remains down 20.96% this year. Nigerian oil share down 16.81% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange down 4.688% this year. Jonathan Ondiki tweeted, 38 virgins killed in bus crash on the way to dance festival where King of Swaziland picks one. May their souls rest in peace. Standard Group reports that the first half profit before tax slumped 89.6%. Earnings per share down 64.6%. Revenue down 7.1%. They had already issued a full year profits warning on the 28th of August when they'd spoken of business disruptions resulting from the digital migration process, challenges in our business operating environment, and the impairment of obsolete company assets. The company has initiated an organizational restructuring process. This has also resulted in one-off reorganization costs that will be expensed in 2015. Safaricom rallied 4.81% on heavy volume Friday, and there's a link for the share price data and an interview with Bob Collymore that I did. Worth looking at. Airtel is in a stalemate with the Communications Authority over a 2.1 billion license fee. KCB Group rallied 2.33% on heavy volume. Share price data is also there, and the interview I did with Joshua. EABL rallied 1.89% on Friday, traded 1.647 million shares. If you want to look into that data, you're most welcome, and have a look at the interview I did with Charles Ireland. Uchumi's up 8.66% since announcing the appointment of Mr. Julius Kiplitich. I like this story, which is a photographic love poem for Nairobi by L.A. Frohane. Nairobi all share bounced 1.94% on Friday, but it remains down 13.941% year to date. NSE 20 bounced 0.51% on Friday, but it remains down 19.77% year to date. As I said, the equity market snapped a losing streak, which had lasted 12 straight days on Friday, longest streak of losses since December 2013. It's been brutal. On Thursday night, the all share was down 15.58%, and at a 7th of February 2014 low, the NSE 20 had touched a low not seen since the 14th of December 2012. That again was on Thursday night. Friday morning we bounced off those levels. Ali Kelpie, head of equities at Exotics, talking about Kenya and Nigerian stocks, and he pulled out EABL, KCB and Safaricom. You're getting these 5, 6 or 7 year lows in terms of multiples. So I shall leave it at that. And thank you once again for stopping by.